Welcome along to another session where I get to meet some people who've been along to the HR Big Meet before. I am Emma. I created this wonderful event where we can come together and celebrate the profession and get resourced, humans resourced. Today, I'm going to be meeting someone who's been there every single year so far. This year, the event is our third event. She has been along to every single one, spoke at the second one, and is coming along probably just to chill out this time because she spoke last year. So without further ado, please let me introduce you to the amazing Aime Rushton.
Hello. Gonna do
Hey,
the
I
little
don't know.
Zoom wave.
But let's start with like year one. What were you hoping for when you came along in year one? What made you like sign up and go, yeah, I'm going to go and get in a room with some people and see what happens?
It was a few months before the event, and it must have been something that I'd seen on LinkedIn. And I can't say that I was the heaviest of LinkedIn users at the time, so you must have just been shouting about it pretty loudly. I do remember at the time that I just started, or was just about to start maybe a new role, which was a little bit of a departure for me at the time. It was a senior HR role. I felt a bit sort of just itchy feet. I was working with a brilliant team in a lovely organization, but I think after COVID and after a few different things going on, just life in general, I thought, I need a bit of a change. And I really missed the learning aspect of HR. And I think that was a big thing for me. I live in Swansea, which is not the biggest place in the world, as lovely as it is. It was still a bit more of a smaller town mentality, and you get very much stuck in your bubble. And I loved going away to conferences or on training days and things, and you'd meet people from other places and understand that they were doing things differently. And I always really loved that connection with people and just knowing that there was a different perspective on it. And I think that really drove me to just clicking on the link, booking a ticket. And I know I've said this to you before, that it was quite, I'm not afraid of going places by myself. I find it a lot easier to go by yourself because you just get lost in the crowd. I would not, turn up to a dinner party of 6 people not knowing anybody. That would be absolutely horrible for someone like me, because I am quite naturally introverted. But I do find it easy to just get lost in a crowd. And I think I just kind of had that mentality of, I'll go if it's really terrible. I'm in London. I know London really well. I'll just leave. I would have waited for the most appropriate time and then just kind of, slunk out the door and had a nice day by myself in London. But that didn't happen at all. I turned up and it was a welcoming, friendly space. I've been to some places where it's too much and they're trying to kind of get you to do crazy things and you're doing Mexican waves before you've even had your first coffee and stuff. And it's just like, whoa, okay, hold your horses. It was just kind of come as you are, take what you want sort of mentality. And I felt no pressure to be anything other than myself as soon as I walked in the door. And I was like, okay, I think this might work. And then straight away, everybody was really lovely, really similar to other HR events I've been to in terms of the people that were there. It was all people that work in HR from various different backgrounds, different approaches to it, even just that everybody was dressed in a way that they felt comfortable in. That was a really big part of it as well. Everyone just seemed like they were there and they were present. And then the speakers started and they were really engaging and it was brilliant. And before I knew it, it was the end of the day. And it was like, oh, that was definitely worth it.
I think year one, like it was I kind of tricked everyone, didn't I? I remember the opening part of the day that I did, which was kind of like, who's come? Because it was who's come to chat to the people that they've just met on LinkedIn. And then I was like, who's come for transformation? And everyone was like, what? What is this all about? Maybe if we stick on that point for a moment of the whole transformation, because for people who have been like you before, you'll know what I'm trying to achieve and what I'm trying to kind of do with the event. But how would you describe the things are different for you? If you could attribute anything that's different for you since coming to the event, what would that be?
Definitely. It was genuinely life-changing for me. And I don't say that lightly because I'm not one to get too evangelical about anything, really. I think there's so many factors that contribute to these things. But genuinely, that one event kickstarted a lot of change in my life. I think just turning up to an event where I felt that I could just, enjoy it and be myself, embrace it. And not that I felt that I was particularly hiding everything about myself at work or in life or anything like that. I just had been going through the motions for a long time, like a lot of people are. And going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm really driven by that curiosity and wanting to learn different ways of doing things, wanting to connect with different people just for the sake of connecting, just to find out what they would do differently, not to necessarily suddenly be best friends or to change my way of doing things to theirs, just because it's an interesting thing for me and just to kind of broaden your horizons a little bit. And that felt like as soon as I walked in, that's what the event was all about. I learned a lot from the speakers as well. They shared some in year one that was quite a lot of personal stories, wasn't it? And a lot of kind of people who had struggled with burnout and different things like that and difficult situations and were in the process of overcoming them. And they were really open in a way that I don't think I'd experienced before. And that was really inspirational, because I think while I hadn't really struggled with being honest about who I was, what I thought, what I wanted from my career and my life, I think I probably didn't realize that it's a good thing to open yourself up and be vulnerable and to share maybe a little bit more of yourself as a person with people. And that's not to say that you have to do that, you know, you don't have to kind of cut yourself open and bleed all over the floor every time you go to any of these events. But I think it really, you get more connection, you know, and the things that I've been able to do and the connections that I've built, and now the really broad network that I've got, is all down to that event and kind of just turning up and being inspired by people who were already living in that way, I think. But for me personally, it's changed the way that I work. I was in an in-house HR role then, and I was fine. It was all right. You know, it was what it said on the tin. And I think I thought that I was itching for more out of those in-house HR roles, and was like, why isn't this quite giving me everything that I need? And I think I've just realized that actually it was because I wanted to focus on parts of those roles and use the skills that I have in a different way. And I wouldn't really have even begun to explore that myself without the help of a lot of the people that I've met through those events, yourself included, you know, where people have gone, but why do you want to do that? Tell me more. And just meeting other people who are also curious and interested in people and want to know what they can do to help you. And it's been a real revelation as well, meeting a lot of people who want to do similar things and to not have it be a competition. I have said to people that this could be part of coming from a bit more of a smaller town mentality, is that, you know, there are limited seats at the top table. Certainly when we started out, there weren't many women, if any, at those tables still. And if there was one, then there was one seat, you know, and they weren't about to give it up. Yes. And so everything was seen as a competition, right? And it was kind of like, oh, I want to do this differently. I want to do this with my career. And people were just like, well, no, I'm already doing that. I have that slice of the pie. But for people to just be like, no, the more of us that do it, the better. Let's build this brilliant network. That was a real revelation to me. And I think that's probably the catalyst for a lot of the change in my career and why I'm now working in culture change and also working for myself, just taking on the work that I want to take on for clients, which is just, it's incredible to think in such a short space of time you can change your mindset.
And then of course in year 2 you decided to gift us your shiny knob.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know, because you came back and decided to take to the stage in year 2. Something that you would have done before you came in year 1?
Absolutely not. I knew that it's something that I would enjoy, because at that point in year 1 I was desperate. I didn't maybe realize this, hadn't kind of thought about it enough to realize that this was what was gnawing away at me. But I loved that side of my job where I got to kind of deal with groups of people and talk about exciting things, and or even talk about issues that they were having and help people to kind of think as a group and all that kind of jazz. So I knew that I would have enjoyed it, but there's no way that I ever in a million years would have put myself forward for something like that. And so the change even between coming to that session in year 1, which would have been it was May 2023, and then it must have been later that year that, you know, we agreed that I was going to speak at the next one. And the theme, you know, it would take too long to explain, Shiny. You need to look back on my LinkedIn page or send me a message and I can explain that to you. There is a point to it, I promise. But it was all about belonging. And, you know, lots of people, like I said, especially in year 1, shared some really personal stories about their own burnout or about different parts of their life that had led them to where they were. Mine was a little bit less personal, and it was more because I'm just really passionate about helping people to carve out a space for themselves and to understand that it's okay to want to do that. And so, yeah, we talked about finding those spaces where you actually belong and you're not just bending yourself into lots of different shapes to fit in. And the reason that that was something that I was able to talk about last year was because that's what happened to me in the first year. It was a direct result of that, where I kind of went, oh, actually, you know what, if you're willing to just take one step towards change, just one step towards learning something new, which is what you get from the big meet, then you can absolutely make big changes in your life.
Yes, I love that, and I'm always so impressed, as I was with you, with the speakers and the effort that the speakers go to in producing it, like, compelling and interesting talk. Like, the first year we were given Nora balls from
Yes.
the lovely Adele, and then we had Shiny, which was you. So next year, what are we gonna have?
Any
I don't
balls or
know.
knobs this year?
But it's so brilliant watching how much effort, like, you went to do the talk, and the other speakers go to as well. There's a real kind of, like, it's not your, I'm gonna get up, deliver a big talk, and it's my cookie cutter, take it from one
Yeah.
plate to the other. There's genuine thought and consideration in terms of how, like, you engage and relate to the audience, and how the audience relates to you and what they're going to get from it. So I don't know if I must have officially thanked you for doing that, for your shiny knob. The effort that goes into it is amazing. Things have changed for you in a big way, and going into year 3, like, completely in a different place to where you were the first time around. So what question am I gonna end with, is the question. What question should I end with, Amy?
You could ask me why it's different, whether I'll approach it differently this year.
Okay.
We'll go with that. Yes, it will be different. Will be different as well for the event, because it's going to be even bigger and better than it was before. I think, having been somebody who really felt the effect of the first year, and then who was part of the team putting it on in the second year, it'll be nice to go back to just taking it all in. I think what I would definitely like to say before we wrap this up is that, you know, it wasn't as easy as people might think to press that button and book that ticket, back yourself and turn up. And, you know, there were probably many points during that morning, evening, where I thought, oh, what am I doing? I'm not one of those people. I'm not a go-getter. I'm not one of those people that puts themselves out there. I'm not one of those people that's all over LinkedIn, or whatever it is, the perception you have of people that go to these things and then talk about it online are. And then it turns out that I absolutely was, and that I'm just a normal person who has a normal job and a normal life, and I'm not trying to be any kind of influencer or anything. I just care about what I do and have a lot that I want to share and a lot that I want to learn. And I think that's really important. And also, you know, as much as it can be daunting to turn up to these things as well, there are lots of ways to accommodate yourself and your needs there. And there will be at least one person that you find who will talk to you. I now am a member of a few different communities, your HR club and the big meet that you put on, and also the HR Geeks, and also over the last couple of months, a couple of local communities, just local kind of business, women in business communities and things like that, which I couldn't have done before because I wasn't doing anything for myself. And I think it's really important to note that that's been a big difference to me, is that I feel like I can turn up and take up space in these places. And it is hard to do. It's definitely worth it. And it's not, I am the least likely cult member ever. I'm so cynical about stuff. And I'm so, like I said, I don't get evangelical about anything. I'm really like, yeah, but whatever. Even people are diehard fans of musicians or whatever, I'm like, oh, I like everything. It's fine. It's not to say that I don't have things that I love to death, but I just have such a quite an eclectic taste. And that's the same in people as well, or like things that I go to, things that I do. I bring my own Kool-Aid. I don't need to drink yours, you know. And I think that's sometimes what people think these things are all about. And especially when they see, like, oh, you know, you came to year 1, you came to year 2, you're in the gang now, you're going to be there in year 3. That's not what it's about at all. It is about sharing it with as many people as possible, because we both know that if you just had the same people there year on year having the same conversations, you're preaching to the choir. They already know, you know, it's going to become an echo chamber, and nothing is going to change in the HR industry or in the wider world of WIG, which is what we're trying to do here. And I think, you know, your remit is so big and you've got such interesting things that you put on. I would say to anyone, have a look at the agenda, look at the brilliant people that are going to be speaking, and think about what inspiration that could give you, and think about how that could help you in your current life situation. You also don't need to be in the market for wholesale life change. Like, it's not just for people who are feeling like lost lambs. It's not just for people who are like, I want to do something different. It is for anybody who works in the HR space or works with people and knows that we've got a lot of work to do. And it is about raising voices and listening and making sure that we're not just telling each other what we want to hear over and over again. So
Yeah.
take a bet on it, and speak to people as well. People are so open to the odd LinkedIn message or whatever. People can absolutely message me privately and I'll tell you anything you want to know about it in a realistic way. Because like I said, it's not about going, this is amazing, it'll change your life, just because I've hitched my train to your wagon. It is about saying this genuinely is going to be good. Yeah, there might be bits that don't resonate with you, but that's okay. And also go and find other things that you do as well. If this is your only chance at a development day for yourself this year, give it a go. You don't have to come every year like I absolutely will do. I'll be there with like sandwich board and a bell going around London.
Forevermore.
But you don't have to do it forevermore. You can just come and take what you need, give what you want.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy, for
No problem.
telling us what you thought and for sharing your experiences. If you have been inspired to come along because of the fabulous Amy and everything that she has had to say about it, then there is a QR code that you can just click now and go ahead and get your tickets. At the end of this week, there are only 8 weeks left to get a ticket. Can you believe it?
Gosh.
That is going to fly by. So
Yeah.
I hope that you have been inspired, and obviously you get to come and hang out with people like me and Amy. See you all soon. Bye.
Bye.